January. And what a day we had yesterday on the financial markets, especially on the US markets, and especially on tech stocks. Well, before we dig into it, I have to say this is just for educational purposes only. There's no recommendation or advice whatsoever. I'm showing you how I apply technical analysis to my analysis on the charts and how you can do the same. But let's dig into it. Let's have a look at Nvidia. So Nvidia that formed a bearish engulfing here back in early January, followed by another one after a bounce, and we talked about for quite some time these levels here were quite a key, 126.80 especially, and did we close well below it yesterday, and also below the 200 moving average. It will be interesting to see where the market will open today, or we'll see a little bit of a bounce, but we do have a negative sentiment now on the RSI, indicating likely lower levels despite a possible bounce later on. Here on the weekly, we can also see what's going on. It is broken below the rising trend line here. It has closed below, for now at least. We don't know how the week will end. I still suspect that we will end below this 126.80 level. Then we are in a confirmed bearish trend, and if RSI closes back below 40, it will add to that confirmation. And we have been warned by this for a very long time on the RSI, indicating trend exhaustion. On the semiconductor index here, illustrated by the ETF, you can see that on the daily, let's just zoom in a little bit. On the daily, the SOX index, or you can see it here, it's the ETF, iShares Semiconductor ETF. 210, around that level. We have some support. It was testing it yesterday. If it takes it out, well, then we're looking at 204, possibly 193, 194 level. And on the weekly, we'll see we're broken out of this rising trend line here. I've drawn this. It did look like a diamond-like shape. It actually closed out on the other side last week, but now we are currently below. So and it is more like a guideline. It's not the most perfect one, but nevertheless, still on the edge here. So let's see. Moving on to S&P 500, that closed down about a 1.5% pre-market, unchanged. But as we can see, it actually closed higher than the open of the day. We are still in a bullish trend. We are still in a positive sentiment on the RSI, indicating that we could move higher in the coming weeks. There's currently no indication other than we have massive divergence here on the RSI, so a little bit of a weakness. But that bullish engulfing we saw a couple of weeks ago, a fairly strong signal here that should send it higher, and it also did, but still we have a trend exhaust indication. If it starts sliding back below 5,900, 5,930, well, then I will start being worried, and then we have support down here, 5,780, and as you can see, pre-market, it's not really, it's bounced really strongly back during the session, and we are back here above 6,000. On the Nasdaq index, here's the cash index, close below the upper falling trend line here after breaking out just below 22,000, and now we are back here around 21,000 and a bit. If we can move back, that would be key. If it can close this gap here over the next couple of days. Pre-market, we are up a little bit, as we can see. And let's just have a look if we're trading around this level here. So this falling trend line level. So let's see here the next couple of days if the market will stabilize themselves. On the Dow Jones index, had a very good day, especially pharma. Apple actually went against the market, overall market, and a few others also had a good day. So we actually ended up 0.65% on Dow Jones. We are a little bit lower today, but bullish here, positive sentiment likely to push higher towards all-time high. So it's like the old school industries, they are doing fairly well. Maybe there's a sector rotation going on. Before we move into the European markets, let's just have a look at what happened in the Asia this morning, and not a damn thing. Well, I know there are a few of the tech companies that had a negative day, but the Hang Seng closed more or less unchanged, slightly positive. As you can see here, we are back about 22,000 in a bounce, still struggling to close back above 60 threshold here. So maybe we could slide lower in the coming days. So really not that convincing for Hang Seng, despite having a couple of good days. As you see here, this is the HK50 CFD and slash the future. So it's also a little weakness there throughout this session, but the RSI is still negative. So I think it could turn around. On the European markets, Eurostoxx 50 correction yesterday, spiked lower, but closed fairly strongly, almost testing the previous all-time highs. Still positive sentiment on the RSI, no divergence, indicating likely higher levels in the coming weeks, but let's see about that. Needs to take out the peak. Pre-market, as we can see here, it's about to open in a few minutes. Then it's a little bit lower, but still well above the 5,120. DAX index, well, DAX index also a correction. It was expected. We talked about it yesterday. It was expected that we saw a correction after this very strong move. We could still see a further correction lower here in the coming days. RSI has been quite high, but still positive sentiment and no indication it could move higher in the coming weeks. Pre-market DAX index is unchanged. Euro dollar got rejected at the 786 retracement at 105.33 yesterday, and has formed what could develop into a top and reversal. We have bullish candle here, a doji here as we call it. A doji is where market open and closes more or less at the same price, and a bearish candle. And if we also see a bearish candle at the end of the day, well, then I will say top and reversal, and then your dollar could resume downtrend. If it takes out 103.70, I think we will see it resuming downtrend, but at least it's pushing lower. Well, we did get the RSI to close above 60 threshold, but I will put more weight into this top and reversal if it ends like that. If it takes out yesterday's peak, then we are pushing towards 106.30 level. Cable, almost similar pattern, but it didn't move all the way up to the 61.8 retracement and the 55 moving average at around 125.40. I did expect that. We were very close to. If we get a negative candle today, well, then we are likely to see cable resuming down to a negative sentiment on the RSI. No divergence, indicating likely lower levels on cable in the coming weeks. If it takes out the peak from yesterday, it can still push up to 126. Euro sterling, that spiked to the 84.65 level. We were in a correction phase. We talked about it last couple of days. Some support here at 83.75. Could drop to the 83.40-50 level, where we have some strong support in the form of the 100 moving average, the 61.8 retracement, and the 55 moving average coming up, giving some support there. So let's see if it actually will spike down there. We are in a bullish trend. There's no divergence, indicating likely higher levels in euro sterling in the weeks to come. Yen pairs, a lot of volatility on dollar yen. We saw it spiking down to the 50%, which is a little bit surprising if it ends here, because usually it is a 61.8 that it will hit, and it will hit that if it takes out the lows from yesterday at 153.70. But let's see about that. We have a very strong bounce overnight, and if it starts bouncing higher, and let's just add a little line there, 156.75. If it takes out that, then I think we'll see uptrend resume. But if it takes out yesterday's low, then we are looking at 152.5 area. Still positive sentiment on the RSI, bounced off the 40 threshold, so maybe that's why it found some support there at 50% retracement. On the euro yen, very frustrating. Basically, it's a large range here between 160 and 165. Can't really make its mind up. And the thing is, it should be bullish with the positive sentiment on the RSI, but it really needs to take out the 165 up here for that to materialize. So I will stay away from euro yen a little bit. It's really frustrating. I think it's something else that is going on. So sometimes you just have to stay and wait on the sideline. Aussie yen, well, the sell-off yesterday, I think we are resuming downtrend. Negative sentiment still is on the Aussie yen, and I think we'll push lower here in the coming days and weeks. To change that, we need to move back above 99.40. Sterling yen, correction up to the 61.8 at 194.85, just below the 200 moving average, and we could slide lower, but if it takes out the peak from yesterday at 194.83, well, then we could see a push up to 196.35, which is the 786 retracement. If it starts sliding low and taking out the lows from yesterday, I think we'll see it resuming downtrend. Aussie dollar rejected just below the 38.2 retracement and the 55 moving average, and the resistance here at 63.35. I think we will resume downtrend, and you can see here RSI rejected at 60 threshold, indicating also we will resume downtrend. If it moves back below 40 threshold on the RSI, downtrend resuming has been confirmed, and we are likely to push lower. However, if it takes out these resistance areas, then the potential much higher, but for now it really seems like we are pushing lower. Dollar Canada, really not much doing, still in this range here between 142.80 and 145, and that's the needs to break out. Sterling Canada, on the other hand, strong move towards 180, just below 180. Very strong. If it takes out 180, then I think we'll see a push up to levels around 180, 150, possibly 182. So a little bit pausing here, but keep an eye on if it breaks higher here above 180. Euro Swiss got rejected here at the 200 moving average, and the resistance around 95. It peaked just above, and now it's testing 94.50. Could slide to test the lower rising trend line, but I'm not quite sure it will do that, but it could. If it takes out the lows from yesterday, then it possibly will. But we are in a bullish trend. If taking out the peaks here from the past few days at 95.20, I always add a little bit. Then where are we? High there, 95.20. Yes. Then we are likely to see a push higher above 95 and a quarter, 95. Well, let's see here. We need to move this one up there. That's where it belongs, in this region around here. 95.80, maybe 96. And finally, on the dollar Swiss, when we're talking FX pairs, and dollar Swiss has spiked to the 55 moving average, and 50% of this uptrend here at 89.70, and then bounced very strongly back above 90 and a quarter, and could resume uptrend here the next couple of days, and it seems like it will do that. The underlying indicators are pointing to higher levels. And the dollar index, almost similar picture, spiked below the 61.8, not all the way down to the key support here at 106.40 level, and bouncing now, RSI bouncing off the 40 threshold, and if it moves back above 108 and a quarter, and especially above 108.36, then I will say we are back in bullish trend on the dollar index. Gold in a correction phase after hitting a couple of Fibonacci levels here at around 27.80, 27.75. Could test the 27.26 support, but we are in a bullish trend, and positive sentiment on the RSI indicating likely higher levels, taking out the spike up there at 27.86. Then we are likely to see a push up to 2800, 2835 area. Just to reverse this bullish picture here, it needs to close below 26.56. But let's see. I don't think we'll see that very soon. But I will stay on the sideline a little bit unless it starts picking up again. On silver, on the other hand, fairly weak, broken below its short-term rising trend line here. Support at 29.50, resistance at 31. That should be observed. Still negative sentiment on the RSI, so keep an eye on this range here. Copper Copper seems to find a little bit of support here around 423, 424 area, 423.75, which is the 55 or 50% retracement. I would have expected to slight a spike at least down to the 61.8 at 418 and a quarter, but it could still do that. But we are in a positive sentiment, so if it starts moving back above 440 and above at this level here, 438.85, then uptrend is to resume. Moving on to crude oil here, WTI crude oil that bounced. It bounced from the 61.8 retracement and support here just above 72. 88, 73.40 around 73 level here. Spiked a little bit below. I think it will start moving around, and if it starts moving above 75 level, then we are likely to see it resuming uptrend. Positive sentiment on the RSI, no divergence, indicating that it could do just that, resuming uptrend or a little bounce strongly. The Brent crude oil just above the 76 support and the 61.8 retracement. Still also just a correction here. Positive sentiment on the RSI, no divergence, indicating likely higher levels. And Dutch TTF gas, well, really not much to say, just sideways here around 48, 50 euros, and still above the rising trend line. Henry Hub gas, well, it's flirting with and currently below the rising trend line. Remember, they're not strong support on the more merely guidelines. I could dip below, but since it was interesting, actually closed above $4, confirming an uptrend. But this bearish candle here and this one is still a very strong force, where you have the sellers in control, and they're still in control a little bit. So let's see here if it slides lower, I can stay above $3.50. US 10-year Treasury yields tested 450 key support yesterday. Still positive sentiment on the RSI, and no diversion, indicating we should see higher levels. But if it does close below 450, well, then we could be in for a further sell-off down to, let's see if we add Fibonacci to it, possibly to the 438 level. However, if it takes out the highs here or peaks from last week at 467, then uptrend has resumed. And the it's below its rising trend line, but key support at 415 is really something to keep an eye on. Do that the next couple of days. Let's see what this is, but it seems like we are establishing a very short term a little bit of bearish trend below the 55 and the 200 moving average that is both declining. On the European markets, the European yields, we have the EUROBund yield here that bounced at 50% retracement of this uptrend here, and they seems to be resuming uptrend as long as it stays above the 245 level. Then we are likely to push higher. Otherwise, we'll see a deeper correction. Positive sentiment on the RSI, no divergence. So it seems like we will have European yields pushing higher in coming days. The UK yields seems to find a base around the 460 here. If it starts taking out 470, then uptrend will resume. And finally, on cryptos, we have Bitcoin, well, still above 100,000, spiked below yesterday. We're still in a bullish trend. 90,000 is key support area. Ethereum bounced from 3,000 once again. Still, it looks fairly heavy. 55 moving average turning around. So it's a little bit more up in the air. I don't know exactly, but if it takes out 2,900, that was the spike down there, we'll then expect a further selling pressure lower to 27.5, possibly lower. All right, that's all for today. Have a nice day and talk to you later.